The warning klaxons blared across Colony Station Kepler 442 as something massive limped through the docking bay doors. Marcus Chin looked up from the engine he was repairing, grease smeared across his tired face. Through the bay windows he saw it, a ship unlike anything he had ever encountered. Its hull gleamed with a strange metallic sheen that seemed to shift colors in the station's lights. Scorch marks and deep gashes tore across its surface. "Dad, look at that." Sophie pressed her small hands against the window, her eyes wide with wonder. At 8 years old, she had seen plenty of ships come through her father's repair shop, but nothing like this. Marcus wiped his hands on his coveralls and stepped closer. The ship was enormous, dwarfing even the largest human cargo vessels. Its design made no sense according to everything he knew about engineering, yet somehow it flew. Or at least it had flown until now. Station workers gathered in clusters, pointing and whispering. The docking clamps struggled to hold the vessel steady as it settled with a groan of stressed metal. For several long minutes nothing happened. Then, with a hiss of escaping atmosphere, a ramp extended from the ship's belly. The figure that emerged made the crowd gasp and step back. She stood nearly 8 feet tall, her body covered in deep blue scales that caught the light like polished sapphire. 4 arms hung at her sides, 2 holding her injured torso. Her face was angular and alien, with large golden eyes that swept across the gathered humans. She wore what looked like a flight suit, torn and stained with purple blood. She took 1 step down the ramp and collapsed. Marcus moved without thinking. He ran forward, Sophie calling after him, and caught the alien before her head struck the metal floor. She was incredibly heavy, her body like holding solid muscle wrapped in armored skin. Her golden eyes focused on him with difficulty. "Help," she said through a device on her collar that translated her words into heavily accented English. "Ship dying. Dying. Get Dr. Yates." Marcus shouted at the stunned crowd. He looked down at the alien woman. "You're going to be okay. We'll help you." Over the next hour, the station's doctor stabilized the alien while Marcus examined her ship. The other mechanics had taken one look at the incomprehensible technology and walked away, shaking their heads. But Marcus needed this job. Sophie's medical treatments cost more every month, and the bills were piling up faster than he could manage. He stood in the ship's engine room, if that's what it was, staring at systems that seemed to run on principles he didn't understand. Conduits pulsed with energy that looked like liquid light. The air hummed with power. But Marcus was good at his job for a reason. He could see patterns where others saw chaos. "What are you doing?" The alien woman stood in the doorway, bandaged and leaning against the frame. "Trying to fix your ship," Marcus said simply. "You need the main power relay reconnected to the drive system, but the coupling is fused. I think I can bypass it using secondary conduits." She stared at him with those golden eyes. "You understand Draxian engineering?" "I understand engines. They all work on the same basic principles. Take energy from one place and move it to another." He pointed at a crystalline structure. "That's your power source, right? And this," he indicated a massive cylindrical device, "is what moves your ship faster than light." "Yes." She sounded surprised. "What is your name, human?" "Marcus Chin." "That's my daughter, Sophie." He nodded toward the door where Sophie peeked in, waving shyly. The alien placed one of her 4 hands over her chest. "I am HFY. You would truly help me?" "Already started," Marcus said, pulling out his tools. "Might take a few days, but I think I can get you flying again." HFY watched him work in silence, something like wonder in her expression. 3 days later, HFY's ship roared to life with a sound like thunder mixed with music. Marcus stood back, exhausted but satisfied, as the engines hummed with perfect harmony. Sophie jumped up and down, clapping her small hands together. The alien woman placed one hand on Marcus's shoulder, her grip gentle despite her obvious strength. "You have given me back my life," HFY said. "How much do I owe you?" Marcus calculated quickly. "Parts, labor, the time away from other jobs. 4,000 credits should cover it." HFY's translator made a strange sound, almost like a laugh. She reached into her ship and returned with a small container. Inside were 3 crystalline bars that glowed with inner light. This should be sufficient. Marcus had no idea what they were worth, but he accepted them politely. HFY knelt down to Sophie's level. "Thank you, little one, for teaching me your hand games. I will remember you." She pressed something into Sophie's palm, a small pendant that sparkled like captured starlight. Then she was gone, her ship disappearing into the black with impossible speed. 2 weeks passed before Marcus discovered the truth. A merchant offered him 50,000 credits for just one of the crystalline bars. When Marcus asked why they were so valuable, the merchant's face went pale. These are Draxian royal payment tokens. Where did you get these? Marcus explained about the alien woman and her damaged ship. The merchant grabbed his arm. You fixed a Draxian ship? Do you have any idea who the Draxians are? They rule half the known galaxy. That same day, a massive cargo ship arrived at the station. The captain, a four-eyed alien Marcus had never seen before, presented him with containers full of rare materials, advanced tools and technology that human engineers had only dreamed about. Compliments of Crown Princess Exatheri Valdraxis, the captain announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Princess? The woman he had patched up in his grimy repair shop was a princess? There must be a mistake, Marcus protested. I already got paid. This is too much. The alien captain looked confused. The princess insists. To refuse would be grave insult to the Draxian imperial house. Within days, the news spread across human space and beyond. Journalists arrived at the colony, shoving cameras in Marcus's face and asking him what it was like to meet royalty. Other alien species began visiting the station, curious about the human who had impressed the Draxian crown princess. Marcus's shop went from struggling to overwhelmed with business. But not everyone was happy. Marcus started receiving messages on his terminal, written in languages his computer struggled to translate. The ones it could translate made his blood run cold. You should not have helped her. Humans should know their place. You made a powerful enemy today. Sophie found him staring at the messages one night after she should have been asleep. Dad, why do you look scared? It's nothing, sweetheart. Just spam messages. But it wasn't nothing. The next day, 3 alien mercenaries entered his shop, their weapons poorly concealed. They browsed his tools slowly, speaking in low voices. Marcus sent Sophie to the back room and kept his hand near the emergency beacon. Across the galaxy, in a palace that sprawled across an entire moon, Exatheri sat in a council meeting. Her father, Emperor Vexthar, was discussing trade agreements when an aide interrupted with urgent news. The Varn Collective had placed surveillance on the human colony. Worse, they had sent assets to the station. Exatheri stood so quickly her chair fell backward. Father, I must leave immediately. The human mechanic? The Emperor's voice was neutral, but his eyes showed understanding. You would risk an incident for him? He risked everything to help a stranger, Exatheri said firmly. I owe him a life debt. I will not abandon him now. The Emperor nodded slowly. Then go, daughter. Take the royal guard. Let the Varn Collective see what happens to those who threaten our friends. The 3 mercenaries moved closer to Marcus, their hands drifting toward their weapons. The tallest one, a reptilian creature with cold yellow eyes, smiled without warmth. You are Marcus Chin, yes? You should come with us. Someone wants to talk. Marcus stepped between them and the back room where Sophie was hiding. My shop is closed. You need to leave. We insist, the mercenary said, pulling out a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. Suddenly the entire shop filled with blinding white light. Marcus threw his arm over his eyes as a sound like ripping fabric tore through the air. When his vision cleared, 12 armored figures surrounded the mercenaries, weapons trained on them. The armor was the same shifting blue metal as Exatheri's ship, and each soldier stood perfectly still, perfectly ready. Then she appeared, materializing in the same white light. But this was not the injured pilot Marcus had helped. Exatheri wore armor that seemed made of liquid starlight, a flowing cape that moved like water, and a crown of crystalline spikes that floated above her head. She radiated power and authority that made the mercenaries drop to their knees. You dare threaten those under my protection? Her voice was cold as deep space. Princess, we meant no harm, the lead mercenary stammered. We were just... Silence. Exatheri gestured and her guards seized them. She turned to Marcus and her expression softened. Are you hurt? Is Sophie safe? Dad. Sophie emerged from the back room, her eyes huge. Is that Exatheri? Hello, little one. Exatheri knelt down, her armor shifting to something less threatening. I promised I would visit again. I'm sorry it took so long. Marcus found his voice. You're a princess. An actual princess. Yes. Exatheri stood, looking almost embarrassed. I should have told you, but I was escaping assassins. I could not risk revealing my identity. She gestured around the shop. You helped me anyway, expecting nothing. Do you know how rare that is? Over the next hour, more ships arrived. Exatheri's forces secured the entire station, finding 2 more Varn agents hidden among the workers. Human government officials rushed to the scene, suddenly very interested in Marcus and his small repair shop. A well-dressed human diplomat pushed forward. Mr. Chin, on behalf of Earth's colonial administration, we are prepared to offer you a position as official liaison to the Draxian Empire. This is an incredible opportunity for humanity. No, Marcus said simply. The diplomat blinked. Excuse me? I said no. I'm not interested in being anyone's political tool. Marcus looked at Exatheri. No offense to you, but I have a daughter to raise and a business to run. I don't want to be part of whatever games governments play. The diplomat sputtered, but Exatheri laughed. A deep, genuine sound. You see, father? She spoke into a communicator on her wrist. This is why I respect him. A hologram appeared, showing an even larger Draxian wearing a crown that looked like captured lightning. Emperor Vex there studied Marcus with ancient eyes. Marcus Chin. My daughter tells me you are a person of honor. I see she was correct. The Emperor's gaze shifted to the human diplomat. This human is under the protection of House Draxus. Anyone who pressures or manipulates him will answer to me personally. The diplomat went very pale and backed away quickly. Exatheri moved closer to Marcus. I must return to the capital. The Varn Collective has made this political. They want war. She hesitated. I would feel better if you and Sophie came with me where I can protect you properly. We can't just leave, Marcus said. This is our home. I know. Exatheri touched his shoulder gently. But please think about it. The galaxy is bigger than one colony station. And Sophie, she looked at his daughter, would you like to see other worlds? Learn about different species? Sophie looked up at her father with pleading eyes. Marcus sighed. He had a feeling his simple life was about to become very complicated. Marcus sat in his shop 3 months later, surrounded by holographic blueprints of Exatheri's ship. She had left him complete technical documentation before returning to her empire, perhaps hoping he would change his mind about joining her. Sophie was at school and the station had returned to normal, though alien customers still visited regularly. He missed Exatheri. He tried not to admit it even to himself, but the shop felt emptier without her presence. News reports said the Draxian Imperium and Varn Collective were on the brink of war. Diplomatic talks had collapsed over territorial disputes and something about primitive species receiving undeserved protection. Marcus focused on the blueprints to distract himself. As he studied the power distribution system, something caught his eye. A small design flaw, barely noticeable, in how the shields connected to the main reactor. During combat, if someone hit the ship in just the right spot, the feedback could overload the entire system. He sat up straighter. If Exatheri's ship had this flaw, did all Draxian military vessels have it? He dug deeper into the files, checking cruiser designs, battleship schematics. The same weakness existed in every ship. His hands shook as he recorded a message. Exatheri, I found something. Your ships have a critical vulnerability. If the Varn know about it... He sent the message through the encrypted channel she had given him for emergencies. Across the galaxy, Exatheri sat in yet another council meeting, listening to generals argue about fleet positions and supply lines. She was exhausted, frustrated, and worried. The Varn had attacked a border colony 2 days ago. War seemed inevitable. Her communicator chimed with Marcus's message. She played it, then froze. She played it again, her mind racing. Stop, she commanded, and the entire council fell silent. I need military intelligence here immediately. Within an hour, Draxian engineers confirmed Marcus's findings. Worse, they discovered the Varn Collective used stolen Draxian technology for their own ships. They had the same weakness. Bring Marcus Chin here, Exatheri told her father. We need his mind. But when she contacted the human government, they refused. Mr. Chin is too valuable, a general said. We cannot risk him traveling during wartime. His insights into alien technology are a human asset. Exatheri wanted to scream. Instead, she sent a carefully worded message to Marcus, hoping he would understand what she could not say directly. Marcus read between the lines. They needed him, but politics were in the way. He looked at Sophie doing her homework, speaking fluent Draxian now thanks to the learning programs Exatheri had sent. Sweetheart, how would you like an adventure? That night, they slipped aboard a Draxian courier ship that had stopped for repairs. The young captain was loyal to Exatheri and asked no questions when Marcus explained. 3 days later, they arrived at the Draxian capital. The Imperial Palace was beyond anything Marcus could imagine. Buildings that touched the clouds, gardens that grew in zero gravity, technology that looked like magic. Sophie gripped his hand tightly as guards escorted them through corridors of crystal and light. HFY met them in a private chamber, and for a moment she just stared. Then she moved forward and embraced Marcus carefully, mindful of her strength. You came. You defied your own government to come. You needed help, Marcus said simply. That's what friends do. She led him to the military command center where holographic star maps showed fleet positions. Marcus spent 6 hours explaining the vulnerability and how to fix it. The Draxian engineers listened with growing respect. One old admiral shook his head in wonder. We have been building ships for 3,000 years, and a human finds our blind spot in 3 months. Using Marcus's modifications, the Draxian fleet engaged the Varn forces near a disputed system. The battle lasted 4 hours. With their weakness corrected and the Varn weakness exposed, the Draxians achieved a decisive victory. Within 2 weeks, the Varn collective surrendered. Marcus Chin, human mechanic, had ended a galactic war with nothing but his understanding of how engines worked. Marcus stood before Emperor Vex Tharval Draxus in a throne room the size of a sports stadium. His work clothes seemed painfully inadequate surrounded by so much grandeur. Sophie held his hand, somehow completely calm while her father's heart pounded. The Emperor sat on a throne that floated above the floor, radiating an aura of absolute power. Then the Emperor smiled, and suddenly he looked less like a terrifying ruler and more like a tired father. You thought my daughter was just a pilot? He laughed, a deep rumbling sound. She told me you treated her wounds with a medical kit meant for humans. Fed her packaged noodles. Let your daughter teach her card games. I didn't know, Marcus said honestly. She was just someone who needed help. Exactly. The Emperor descended from his throne, landing gracefully despite his massive size. You saw a person, not a political opportunity. My daughter has been surrounded by schemers and politicians her entire life. You gave her something rare, genuine kindness. He gestured broadly. Name your reward. Wealth, land, a title, technology for your people. Anything. Marcus thought about his struggling shop, the medical bills, the future he wanted for Sophie. But what came out surprised even himself. Educational opportunities for Sophie. Medical care for the colonists on Kepler 442. A lot of them can't afford treatment. The Emperor stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned to his advisors. Give him 10 times what he asked for. Establish a scholarship program for human children. Build a medical center on his colony with our best technology. He looked back at Marcus. You are either the wisest human I have met or the most foolish. I cannot decide which. Probably foolish, Marcus admitted, and Sophie giggled. HFY appeared beside her father, radiant in flowing robes. Father, I would like to show Marcus and Sophie the capital. With your permission. Over the next week, HFY took them everywhere. They saw floating markets where aliens from 1,000 worlds traded goods. Gardens where plants sang in harmony. Ships being built in orbital yards that stretched for miles. Sophie soaked up everything like a sponge, already asking questions in 3 different alien languages. One evening, they stood on a balcony overlooking the city as 3 moons rose over the horizon. Sophie had fallen asleep inside, exhausted from excitement. I convinced my father to establish a formal partnership with humanity, HFY said quietly. Your people have something special. You see problems differently. Think in ways we forgot centuries ago. We're not special, Marcus said. We're just new to all this. Exactly. She turned to face him. Marcus, I have been a princess my entire life. People bow, they scheme, they want things from me. But when I was stranded on your station, injured and afraid, you just helped. You argued with me about engine specifications. Let your daughter teach me rock, paper, scissors. She paused. I have never felt more alive than those 3 days pretending to be just a pilot. Marcus's heart raced. HFY, I'm just a mechanic. You're a princess of an empire. We live in completely different worlds. So we build a bridge between them. She moved closer. The galaxy needs bridges. People who can stand between cultures and help them understand each other. I think you could be that person. What about Sophie? The Imperial Academy would be honored to have her. She is brilliant, Marcus. In 1 week she has learned more than most adults learn in months. Sophie's voice came from the doorway. Dad, stop being scared. I like it here. And you like her. She yawned. Even I can see that, and I'm 8. Marcus laughed despite himself. HFY's golden eyes showed hope mixed with uncertainty. He realized she was just as nervous as him, princess or not. I can't promise I'll be good at this, Marcus said. I fix ships. I don't do politics or diplomacy. You fixed my ship, HFY said softly. Perhaps you can help fix the galaxy too. Marcus looked out at the alien city, then at Sophie, then at HFY. His quiet life on a backwater station was over. Something bigger was beginning, something that scared and excited him in equal measure. He took HFY's hand. Let's try.